For more on this latest incident, we were joined earlier by our correspondent, Maria Nicolescu.
The 3 employees of the organization Doctors Without Borders were near the town of Abiy Adi, located west of Tigray's capital, Mekelle, when they were murdered. The Spanish branch of the NGO published a statement on Friday in which it said that the bodies had been discovered near their cars. It's unclear yet who is behind this attack, which comes as the Tigray region is facing a surge in violence, especially against civilian populations. In the same area, the town of Togoga was hit by an airstrike on Tuesday, killing dozens of people and wounding more than 100.
Ethiopia, Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, releases findings of internal review into 2021 Tigray killing of 3 staff members. Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, has published the findings of an internal review into the brutal killing of 3 of our staff members, María Hernández Matas, Tedros Gebremariam Gebremichael, and Yohannes Halefom Reda, in central Tigray, Ethiopia, on June 24, 2021. The review confirmed that the attack was an intentional and targeted killing of 3 clearly identified aid workers. It also established that a convoy of Ethiopian National Defense Forces, ENDF, was present at the time of the incident, on the same road where the MSF personnel were killed. Maria, Tedros, and Yohannes were working with MSF to provide medical care in the conflict-affected region of Tigray. On June 24, 2021, they were traveling in a clearly marked MSF vehicle to a village near Abiy Adi town in central Tigray to refer patients who had been wounded in recent fighting. During their journey, their vehicle was intercepted, and they were killed. For years on, MSF still does not have credible answers about what happened to our colleagues, despite tireless attempts to engage with both the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, FDRE, and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, both of whose forces were present in the wider conflict zone. Despite repeated assurances from the Ethiopian authorities that an investigation was underway, for years on, neither MSF nor the victims' families have received any credible answers, says Paula Gil, president of MSF Spain. We can only assume that there is insufficient political will to share the findings of a completed investigation. In the absence of any official account, we have a moral obligation towards our staff and the families of our late colleagues to make our own findings public, a necessary step to shed light on a brutal killing that must not be ignored or buried, says Gil. Immediately after the incident, MSF launched an internal review, our standard practice following a critical security incident. The evidence confirmed that the attack on the MSF team was intentional and targeted. The victims, all wearing white vests clearly marked with the MSF logo and traveling in a vehicle visibly displaying the MSF logo and flag, were shot multiple times at close range while facing their attacker. Their bodies were found up to 400 meters from their vehicle, which was burned and riddled with bullets. This was not the result of crossfire, nor was it a tragic mistake. Our colleagues were killed in what can only be described as a deliberate attack, adds Gil. MSF's internal review also clearly established that a large retreating convoy of the ENDF was moving south on the same stretch of road where MSF staff members were killed on the day of the attack. This was corroborated by multiple sources available in the public domain, including media reports and open-source satellite imagery, as well as several civilian witnesses. Beyond the confirmed presence of the ENDF in the area, what remains to be clarified is the extent and nature of their involvement in the attack. MSF received concerning witness accounts, including from civilians traveling with the ENDF convoy in various capacities, that directly implicated ENDF soldiers in the attack. One witness reported overhearing a radio exchange where an ENDF commander gave orders to shoot at an approaching white car and remove them. Since 2021, MSF has held over 20 high-level meetings with officials in the Ethiopian government and submitted numerous formal requests for a credible, transparent investigation to be carried out, and for findings to be shared. Over the past 4 years, we have done everything in our power to engage constructively with the Ethiopian authorities, including sharing the findings of our internal review on several occasions between November 2021 and October 2023, along with supporting materials, with the Ministry of Justice, says Gil. MSF's review clearly demonstrates that it was, and remains, feasible to establish the facts about the incident, says Gil. Given this, and the substantiated information confirming ENDF presence at the time of the attack, it is both unconscionable and unacceptable that the Ethiopian authorities have consistently failed to conclude a credible investigation and share its findings. MSF is making this internal review public not only out of moral obligation, but also to demand that governments protect humanitarian workers and medical facilities and that those responsible for attacks on humanitarians and medical staff are held accountable. Attacks on humanitarian personnel are rising globally, while states increasingly neglect their duty to investigate and prosecute violations of international humanitarian law, and the international community continues to look away. The brutal killing of Maria, Tedros, and Yohannes is an emblematic case of the dangers faced by humanitarian workers. If there is no investigation of such an egregious attack, it sets a dangerous precedent in Ethiopia and reinforces an alarming pattern of impunity for attacks on healthcare globally. Maria, Tedros, and Yohannes lost their lives while helping people in crisis, says Gil. They are in our thoughts every day. Their murder must not be forgotten or met with silence. MSF hopes that by pursuing the truth of what happened to them, we can contribute to building a safer environment for humanitarians, not only in Ethiopia, but in conflict zones around the world.
But Tsegay here has got 20 meters on Oromo, 1,237.36. Well, that is so much quicker than the pacemakers were asked to produce. But maybe Tsegay had a little word in Meshesha's shell-like. Her ear, that is, because she has got the jump on Oromo here, who, barring disaster for Tsegay, the Ethiopian 24-year-old out in front, is going to lose by a big, big margin. Tsegay is hurting, 300 meters to run. Oromo working hard too, 1,200, 307.96. But she's just covered the last 230.6 has Tsegay as she hits the bell there. Oromo goes through, but many seconds down. This has never happened to Oromo before. She's misjudged this one. She had to let them go because the early pace was insane. And actually, you have to admire Tsegay here because her strength to have withstood the first 600 so insanely fast and then to hold it together for the rest of the race is astonishing. That's why she's beating Oromo here by 25 or 30 meters. Watch the clock. It's going to be quick. Oh, my word. The world record has been smashed. It was Genzebe Dibaba's 3:55.17. And she looks fresh, doesn't she? 3:53.09. We'll talk about saving the best till last. A world record in the women's 1,500 meters for Gudaf Tsegay.